Hello, I'm happy you're here. Welcome back. I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in July, and I had such a nice time reading in July. Like, I had a lot of fun for most of it. We'll get there. We are going to go through the books I've read, and at the very end we will pick which book I am going to deem as book of the month. And at the end of the year, I'm going to do a bracket style contest between all of the books of the month from 2025 and make them go head to head to find out ultimately what is the book of the year. The first book I finished in July was Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first time I've read a Brandon Sanderson book. I thought that it would be like a nice little intro, just like something easy to get into, like the Cosmere, I think is what it's called. And I had such a tricky time getting into this book. It is written to be more whimsical, and I keep seeing it be described as like the Princess Bride type, just kind of whimsy dialogue, whimsy descriptions. And while that's all well and good, like I can have fun with that, this took so long to get into because it felt very try hard for the front half of the book, very attempting just too much of the whimsy and not enough of what the hell is going on. By the middle of the book, I was like, okay, I can finish this, because there was a second there I was like, I'm gonna DNF this book. And I would really like to finish it. It seems like such a beautiful concept, a beautiful world. Like, it's fun. It's a fun pirating adventure on an ocean made of spores that can kill you. And you get to learn a bit more about what's going on, like with the magic of these spores, I guess. But then there's aliens, which I didn't understand fully. And then I figured out the twist, which was the only reason I kept reading the book, is because I was like, I'm pretty sure this is the twist. I have to keep reading to see that I'm right, and I was. And that actually made it more enjoyable for me. But I did end up giving this book a 3.5. Like, I know I kind of like said a lot about it. I did enjoy it. I liked the story. I liked Tress. I liked the idea of her and this infinity for mugs and the whimsy of it, the pirate aspect, the dangerous waters, the adventure to find someone who's lost, all really great. The confusingness about why there are aliens in this universe, and that was confusing to me, and that was hard to get into. I would still like to give like Mistborn a little go by Brandon Sanderson, but I don't know that I should have started Tress of the Emerald Sea. I think it was just maybe too whimsical for me. The next book I finished was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I got this book from the library, and I also got Tress from the library as well. I have mentioned that I am in my Emily Henry era this year. I have just been reading Emily Henry this year. It's my first time reading Emily Henry from like January to now, so I'm hoping to read like the full like contemporary romance book collection that she has out, which I think is 6 books, and I only have one more left to read. I did not love the premise of the romance aspect. It was like a fake dating second chance type, and I did not like any of these characters. I didn't think that their friendships made a lot of sense. I did not feel like I was rooting for either of them. I just was like, I'm not actually interested on if you guys get back together. I think you guys should actually just break up. Personally, I think you guys should just be done with the whole thing. Like, there's no, it did not make sense in my brain on why they liked each other, and then there was no sense in my brain why she was friends with any of her friends. Like, they just did not make any sense. They were not kind to each other. They did not treat each other well for having known each other for so long and being the found family. I struggled with this one. I gave this a 2.75, and I was really bummed because it's set in Maine. I live in Maine, and it was set in like the rich part, which, like, fine, fun, cute, coastal, just very cookie cutter, I guess, as far as that goes. Yeah, I didn't really particularly enjoy this one. I am starting to like get an inkling of my ranking of my Emily Henry books, but I'm gonna wait until I read the final one, which is beach read, and I'm kind of running out of beach time to read it, so maybe I can do that in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, just not my favorite Emily Henry, but if Emily Henry writes it, I will still probably read it. The third book that I finished was also a library book, and it was Welcome to Fae Cafe by Jennifer Kropf, and I was so intrigued by this concept of the Fae come into the human realm and then they get tricked into running a cozy cafe and like helping this woman open it, and she like usurps the Fae prince's soldiers, and it does not take itself seriously at all. This is also the first of 4, and I am definitely going to be reading more of these books. I thought that it was so silly, so easy to read, and still kind of followed those that premise of the Fae and the magic and like the human Fae romance part, and I just had so much fun with it. It was nice to read this kind of fantasy where it's just kind of taking everything that we're seeing and just kind of like tweaking it a little bit and just getting to like the sillier side of this style of writing. I had a lot of fun. The font itself for the book felt a little like dense. It was a little difficult to focus on the page. Like the words were just kind of like squished a little too much for me. I got like the paperback version from my library. I was walking through my library with my kids. They have like a new shelf where they display a bunch of the new books, and they put like these little new sticker banners on it, and I saw it. They had it like facing out, and I was like, that I saw online and I wanted to read it. I'm gonna grab it, and I grabbed it on a whim, and then I had to like cram in this book really quickly before I left for a trip. So I really just devoured it, and I'm glad that it was really easy to get into. I gave it 4 stars. I really had so much fun with just the silliness of it. The 4th book I read was Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and if Taylor Jenkins Reid writes a book, I am going to read it. I am actually going to be picking up Atmosphere from my library tomorrow. I'm super excited to get reading on that. But Carrie Soto is my 4th Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I've read in the past 12 months. And I really love this kind of universe that she's made for herself, because Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones, Malibu Rising, and Carrie Soto are all set in like this realistic universe. It's fun because they're all kind of set in the same location around California, and you get to see the interaction between these celebrities kind of just woven through time. So fun and so clever. These books do not talk to each other. You don't need to read them in any certain order. I so happen to have accidentally read them in like decade order of like where the stories were taking place, and I really enjoyed Carrie Soto. My sister-in-law had actually recommended Carrie Soto to me, I don't know, probably 2 years ago now, and I kind of just put it on my to-read list and just kind of pushed it back and back for no reason other than there were other ones I wanted to read at that moment. But I'm so glad that I got to read this. It really highlights and focuses in on Carrie Soto, who is a women's tennis player who comes back to tennis out of retirement to try to hold on to her record. And it's such an interesting story to read about a woman who's also in her 30s like I am, and watch her go through this kind of struggle of letting go a little bit. Like, there's only so much that you can continue to do with the body that you have. I think that this book did a really good job of encapsulating that sort of pressure to be the best and be like, I worked so hard in my 20s to get to where I was, and now am I too old now to hold on to that title? Is it worth coming back? Am I going to embarrass myself if I try? And Carrie Soto also gets this kind of like maligned woman in sports, where because she has such a tough, rough exterior and is very focused on, you know, winning and bulldozing through people and not thinking about her opponent's feelings at all, she gets kind of labeled as, what did they call her? The battle axe is what they end up nicknaming her, because she's just absolutely ruthless. And I just love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing. It is so clearly her voice in all of her books, but they are all written so differently. Carrie is a hard person to like. This is one of the times where you probably will not like the main character. She is hard to like. So I really enjoyed this book. I also bought it on ebook. My friend did give me a gift certificate with the intention of like buying ebooks. So that's what I used it for. I try not to. I try to only get books that are either on Kindle Unlimited or from my library, but this is one that I bought on ebook because I was traveling at the same time as I was reading it. But yeah, very enjoyable. I did like this book a lot. The 5th book I read this month was Spark of the Everflame by Penn, and I was looking forward to this book so much. I found it on Kindle Unlimited. I've heard so many good things about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am so excited. It sounds like such an interesting plot. Our female main character is in some kind of healing job. There are secrets that her mother is keeping from her, and then her mother disappears, and now it's kind of a quest to figure out why her mother is gone. And also the elites that run the towns and the sections of the country that she has to be subservient to because of who she is, because she is human. It's very done. And I'm fine with that. I'm happy to read fantasy books that are structured in a way that I'm familiar with. I'm happy to have a female main character who's like, oh, but I can't, I'm just a human, but I'm snarky and tough, but also I have feelings, and also I think this guy who has a lot of power is kind of annoying, but also super hot. Like, I don't mind plots like that. It's definitely what the plot of this book was. But when I tell you I wanted this book to be over so much, I was just so done with it. I could not stand this female main character, DM, I believe is how we pronounce her name. She did not have 2 brain cells to rub together, poor thing. And I could not stand the man that she was with. There's like a childhood relationship happening between her and this man named Henry, and oh my god. No. No, thank you. I'm so good. And I am so annoyed because I was really enjoying the plot and the mystery of like what's going on behind the scenes and figuring out all the twists and turns, even if they could be predictable. Again, that is fine with me. But being inside this person's head and feeling all of the flip-floppiness of their intentions was so frustrating that I was reading this in Wales. I was hanging out with some friends. We got a cottage for the weekend, and so we did a lot of reading together, and they had to hear me go so many times while I read this book, and it was a celebration when I finally finished it. 2.5 stars. It got the 0.5 because I liked the plot and I was very hopeful for it, but I will not be reading more of this series. Can't. Cannot. And the final book I read this month was an ARC that I got through NetGalley. While I was traveling abroad, like I said, I was in a cottage in Wales, we had gone to a bookstore and I found the copy of this book, cover story by Mhairi McFarlane, and I was like, oh, so I'm reading the US version, which is being released soon, so I can like kind of compare contrast and see how that fits an American audience. I did not realize that this book already was out on the shelves, but it makes sense. I read this book pretty much from start to finish on the flight. I read the last bit of the book, I read for 7.5 hours, pretty much straight. And I did have a good time with this. This is a contemporary romance set in Manchester, England. So we're following 2 journalists who end up having to do like some fake dating, which I love a fake dating trope. And they are going kind of like undercover for this story to try to, I can't even remember what they were trying to figure out. I cannot remember. But I really enjoyed the interaction between the 2 characters. I don't even remember their names. It was good. I had fun. The thing was, though, it was a little difficult as an American reader reading a bunch of the British slang that was in this book, so that took me a moment to try to get over, but like I said, I had a 7-hour flight, so I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't getting up. I was just reading this book. It was good. I had fun. I gave it a 3.5, and I think that that's a good contemporary romance score, honestly. It didn't make me like think too hard about life and beyond and all of that. It was a nice story. It was a nice little love story. It was a fake dating trope. I just had fun with it. And that's honestly all I need from a book sometimes, is just to have fun. It is time to choose the book of the month for the month of July. And after like taking a little look at this list, going back through and seeing what I could remember also, because I'm not gonna do research on these books. Like, I'm just here to tell you how I felt while I read them. I know that of all the books that I'm reading, I'm not gonna remember every single plot, every single character name, but I am gonna remember how that book made me feel. So this is the kind of reviews you should expect going forward. But for book of the month, for the month of July, I think I'm going to have to give it to Welcome to Fae Cafe by Jennifer Kropf. I'm not gonna ever get that right. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it was fun. It was silly. It didn't take itself too seriously. It was over the top, kind of goofy, but also had these times of like reflection that I really appreciated. And I am planning to read more of these books, and I'm excited to dig into the next one. Will that be anytime soon? No, probably not. I got a long list of books to read over the next month, but it is on my radar to read the next one, so I'm gonna have to give it to Welcome to Fae Cafe. It was just so fun, silly, you know, just but that's gonna be it for this video. I hope that you've enjoyed hanging out, chit-chatting about some books, and let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if I was wrong, but I appreciate you being here all the way to this point in the end. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.